For our next project, we're going to shift away from drawing and move into something called design thinking. Design thinking is a method that people use to create products and experiences that solve problems. It's kind of like the scientific method, but for design. This week, you'll follow the steps of design thinking to create a prototype of a product to help someone in your household. But before I explain the project, I would like to introduce a special guest. Emily Wislotsky is a design strategist with a background in industrial design, and she'll be guiding us through the design thinking project. Hello, Emily.
Hi, Miss Kambhu. Thanks for having me. My name's Emily, and I work for a company that creates products for teachers and students. And part of my role at that company is just to make sure that we're always keeping our users in mind. The way that we do that is by using the design thinking method. So design thinking is the name of a process. The really important pieces about design thinking is that it's user-driven. It's not just about creating something cool. You're always tying it back to those user needs, and that the process is iterative. So you can do it over and over, keep things fast and loose, and quickly learn about whether or not you're solving those problems for your users. See if your ideas are good. If they're not, you can pivot and just keep trying things out. And that's all part of the fun.
So what are the steps of the design process?
There are 5 steps to the design process. The first one is called Empathize. And it's essentially a research step, but we like to call it Empathize because instead of just being like, ooh, I'm a mindless person, jotting down information about somebody, you're really trying to get into their emotional state and feel what they're feeling. Then step 2 is called Define. That's when you take what you learned from the Empathize stage and define specifically what your users' needs are and maybe figure out a specific problem that you want to solve for them. After that is the ideate phase, which is really fun. You take that problem that you crafted and you try to come up with as many zany ideas as you can that might solve that problem. The next step after that, step number 4, is prototyping. That's when you pick one or more of the ideas that you came up with during the ideate phase and create an artifact that you can actually test with users. Maybe you're making a little paper version of it or a little cardboard version of it, or if it's a digital product, maybe you're doing a little PowerPoint presentation that mimics the way the user interface works. And then prototyping feeds right into that next stage of testing. So that's where you take that prototype or multiple prototypes that you created and put them in front of actual users. Maybe it's the users that you empathize with at the beginning of your process and see how they react to it.
Cool.
So I just gave you a little overview of the design thinking process, but if you want something a little bit more official, there's a great video that Ms. Kambhu will include in your lesson that I encourage you to watch. What I really like about this video is that you'll see designers set out to solve a certain problem for senior citizens, but in their empathizing, they actually realized there's maybe a different problem that they wanted to solve for them.
Thank you for that great introduction to design thinking. In this project, you're going to choose a design challenge from a list of different social distancing related challenges that are going to be posted on Google Classroom. They range from things like design a new type of face mask that stays put comfortably, or something like design a way for kids to fight boredom while staying at home. You're also going to choose a person, ideally someone who lives with you, who you're going to be designing for. Over the next 2 weeks, we'll follow the steps of design thinking to create a prototype for the person and the challenge that you chose. You might end up designing a physical object or product, a new service or technology, or something that's totally new. I don't even know what you're going to make. Remember, don't be afraid of failure. This is just prototyping. So it's not about the final outcome. It's about the way that you use the process to uncover insights about your user. And in real life, you might repeat the process over and over and over, but for this project, we're going to do one phase. That's it for the project overview. Your first step, as Emily said, is empathize. So Emily is going to walk us through a demo on how to empathize in design thinking.
One way that you can empathize with users is through observation. So if we're talking about somebody in your home and let's say you chose the challenge of face mask, you might want to just silently observe that person using their face mask and see see what that's like. Maybe you see them like scratching their face, or maybe you see the face mask sagging, or who knows what. Just keep an open mind and try not to influence the situation too much. Another technique is interviewing. What I like to do if I'm doing interviewing is just like come up with a few questions beforehand, maybe keep them a little bit loose so that when I'm in the moment, they feel more conversational. And it's important to make your questions pretty open-ended and not leading. So I'll do a quick interview with Miss Kambhu here. Tell me about a time when you've worn a face mask.
I wore a face mask today when I was riding my bike, but it wasn't really a face mask. It's like a tube of fabric that I doubled over
Okay.
the tube, put it over your head.
Can you tell me more about why you chose to wear the face mask?
Oh, yeah. Well, I actually have an old or leftover N95 mask, but it's super uncomfortable, number one, and not, I don't think, quite necessary when riding a bike. And I can also wash it and reuse it, whereas the N95 mask I save for like if I'm going to the grocery store or somewhere where I'm going to be in closer contact with people. The other reason for wearing the tube instead of like a scarf, because I've also done like scarf around my face, tied in the back, is that I can wear a bike helmet over it, but it's not ideal because like the bike helmet like sags it down.
Great, thank you for sharing that with me. What I would caution against is saying something like, oh, well, doesn't that hurt your face? Or like, why don't you like wearing your face mask? Something like that. That's like leading the person into a negative direction. So if it's more open-ended, like, how does wearing that face mask make you feel? Tell me more about that. Those are maybe the types of questions that you'll want to use. Another technique that you can do is a process walkthrough. So it's a little bit more like an interactive observation.
And now Emily's gonna demo a quick snippet of part of a process walkthrough.
Yeah, so Ms. Kambhu, can you just show me what it looks like for you to get ready to go outside?
So I think the first thing I do is I put the face mask on. I can't put the helmet on before the face mask, otherwise it won't fit. Oh wait, also I have to take my hair down because my bike helmet doesn't fit with my hair up. And then I strap it onto the face mask, but as you can see, kind of pulling the face mask down as I strap it up, so then I pull it back up, but it gets really saggy. Oh, I did this wrong actually. I have to take my hair down first. I have to take my hair down first, because otherwise the hair pulls the mask down in the back, which then pulls it down.
Oh, interesting.
So, yeah, it's a pretty convoluted process.
Well, great. Thank you for sharing that with me. So yeah, that was a really great example of a process walkthrough. I can already see some pain points of the whole like mask type situation that my user is facing, but I'm not going to interject and talk about them right now. It's more just about taking everything in.
Thank you, Emily. That's it for this first step of design thinking. Get ready for step 2 in 2 days.
Cool. Thanks. Bye.